A little while ago, one of you linked this video here on screen in the comments, and I checked into it and I thought pretty interesting points made. So we're just going to watch this real quickly, 13 minutes and 15 seconds. This guy, I don't know anything about him, this Ice Age Farmer channel, don't know a thing, not recommending his channel, but what he says in here is very important because it shows the environmentalist movement agenda and how it ties into the Vatican. Again, remember Revelation 17. The Vatican, there, Mystery Babylon, is the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Right? If it's an evil system, it will eventually tie back to the Vatican system, Mystery Babylon. Right? Not my opinion, not my prejudice, whatever. It's what the King James Bible teaches. So let's watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cult of global warming wants a Sabbath. And moreover, they want to force the entire world to worship their creation on the day of their choosing. This is, there's no other way to put it, a truly satanic agenda. And while I won't be getting into my beliefs, and I really am agnostic as to your beliefs, what I want to present to you today is an objective look at what they believe and what they are putting forward. And it's truly remarkable. Calls from the Christian Science Monitor to the Jewish publication Tablet, all echoing this idea that we should really bring back the Sabbath. And you can look at the Green Sabbath Project to get an idea of what that means. Nothing. It means nothing is what everyone must be doing on Sundays. No travel, no shopping, and there's been a dramatic increase in the calls for this since the outset of this pandemic in 2020. Indeed, though, it's been around for some time, and looking back now 11 years at this article from The Guardian called Slow Sunday, the Simple Solution to Global Warming, where they make it quite clear when they unambiguously state we can and should restore Sunday to a day for Gaia, a day for the earth. Yes, worshipping the creation and not the creator on the day of their choosing. This goes deep, and I'll only be able to scratch the surface today, but I at least wanted to start this conversation because I think it's an important one, particularly given that there are people who believe a global forced Sunday worship is the mark of the beast. There's a lot here to unpack.
Okay. And I just want to say this, it's not the mark of the beast. Okay, that's Seventh-day Adventist teaching. It's false. It is definitely not the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is a implantable microchip in the right hand or in the forehead. You really have to twist what Revelation 13 talks about in order to teach it's being Sabbath day, forced Sabbath day stuff. That's, yeah, nonsense from the Seventh-day Adventist cult. So just put that little disclaimer in here, but he makes some good points, so let's continue.
Let's talk about it. I'm Christian, that's my name, and this is the Ice Age Farmer channel. And in my last report, I mentioned that there are calls to extend the lockdown, the response to the pandemic now ad infinitum, to just keep the world locked down because it's good for the environment. We see that this lockdown, for climate reasons, has already begun. It's already happening. San Francisco Bay officials approved a plan that requires large businesses to have employees work from home 3 days a week. It's a permanent lockdown, a lasting change. And then just yesterday, Boris Johnson emerged and announced that he would be proceeding to rewild 30% of the United Kingdom. And of course, I've covered these calls to walk away from 50% of the UK's farms and just let them turn back into trees to capture carbon and shut down the sheep farming. You can make more money just by virtue of carbon offsets. You don't need the sheep anymore. The technocrats are imposing their rules on our agriculture and farming, and now Boris is promising to push people off of the land, off of the rural communities, and back into the smart cities. But where did he get these numbers? 30% by 2030. In fact, he is implementing the agenda that was put forward by the UN and amplified by Pope Francis. Pope Francis said exactly right here, quote, "I'm urging governments to support the United Nations call to safeguard 30% of the Earth as protected habitats by 2030 in order to stem the loss of biodiversity." Of course, this plays into zoonotic threats, and it's because of a loss of biodiversity that we've had the pandemic. They've connected all of these nasty agendas together, but the bottom line here is we're starting to whittle away at human civilization, starting to destroy opportunities for any continued human activity. That is, after all, Agenda 2030 in action, pushing people into the smart cities, shutting down economic activity, taking total control, establishing the climate tracing initiative that Al Gore announced, watching every piece of emissions on the planet. Well, that will certainly be useful now in a climate Sabbath if we want to make sure that everyone stays inside on Sunday to worship Gaia. Boris Johnson is not the only world leader out there saying that the Pope seems to have a good idea here. Macron eagerly stepped on stage and said that the Pope's got a good idea here. We should shut down human civilization.
And Macron is a trained Jesuit, by the way, so just thought I'd throw that in there.
But there was more that the Pope has said recently, and in fact even 5 years ago in his encyclical, he really broke down the need to shut down economic activity and do away with capitalism. And even he tied it. He mentioned the Sabbath several times. Let's read now from the Pope's more recent comments over this past summer. In his words, the pandemic has shown that the earth can recover, quote, if we allow it to rest. And I'll just point out, Sabbath is Hebrew for rest. And so we'll see the Pope talking about rest a lot. He's actually talking about restoring the Sabbath, but not the real one. He notes that the planet is groaning under the constant demand for economic growth. Francis renewed his call for the cancellations of debts of the most vulnerable countries. This is the other part of what is being floated right now, is a forgiveness of debt, a debt jubilee.
Okay, interesting, because I did a study a while back called "Why Debtors Will Take the Mark of the Beast," and I said I believe that there's going to be a financial incentive. I didn't even know about a lot of this stuff. So, pretty interesting.
For the developing countries. And the concept of debt and debt forgiveness is referenced in Laudato, his encyclical in 2015 as well. Pope Francis affirms that a true ecological debt exists, much like the debt of a sinner. Only this time, whereas God can forgive your sins, nature will not. Nature never cancels our debt. Our Mother Earth provides us everything we need to live. We are indebted to her, the Pope says. In return, we must cultivate and care for her. However, we have not, and we have failed to pay back our debts to the earth. Thus, she demands justice for these offenses that we inflict on her. She wants sacrifices. Pope Francis reminds us of the saying, God forgives, but sometimes nature does not. The language here is just stunning. The earth does not need our wealth to pay back what we owe her. What she needs is a Sabbath, according to the Pope. And here, directly from the Vatican, is his latest message. Just this month, the Pope released this message for the World Day of Prayer for the Care of Creation. Quote, I'm very pleased that the theme chosen by the ecumenical family for the celebration of the 2020 season of creation is Jubilee for the Earth, precisely in the year that marks the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. 50 years after their creation, the creation of the cult of global warming, is now announcing it's time for a jubilee.
Okay, let me just show you this real quickly. April 1970, the first Earth Day was celebrated. So 1970 to 2020. 50 years. Rather interesting. So, this whole thing, this pandemic, it's all just came out of nowhere. We didn't know anything about it, and people just started getting sick with the coronavirus, and it wasn't planned or anything. All the lockdowns, all the shutdowns, all this hyped hysteria and everything. You can't leave your home, and you have to shut your shutter your business and you can't go out to eat, you have to stay 6 feet apart. It was all planned, every single bit of it. It's just so amazing to see this. Let's continue.
To return to a climate Sabbath. I hope you can see that there's a language and a pattern in the 50 years ago Earth Day, now through it's the 50th anniversary. It's time for the Jubilee. This is a long-standing agenda, and it's a ritual too. This is a ritual to supplant the Creator with worship of the creation. In the Scriptures, continues the Pope, a Jubilee is a sacred time to remember, return, rest, restore, and rejoice. And he expands on each of these themes. I'm going to skip directly to rest. Again, the literal translation of Sabbath. We must examine, says the Pope, our habits of energy usage, consumption, transportation, and, yes, notably, diet. The Pope doesn't want you to eat meat anymore. He also wants you on that lab-grown meat and those insect proteins.
Yeah, because then you'll be easier to control. Exactly. Don't go out and hunt for wild animals or fish for wild-caught fish. We'll put you on our toxic food. Incredible.
But there's another player involved, because naturally you can't just have the Pope come in and take over the world and establish Sunday as the day of worship. There'd be too much resistance to that. Even with the Jewish papers, like we said, calling for this as well. So enter Greta. Here's a piece from the Watauga Democrat last year. Your view, Greta's weekly climate strikes are actually setting a precedent here for a return to practicing the Sabbath, honoring the Sabbath. Quote, Greta Thunberg's weekly climate strikes, which have grown to include millions of people worldwide, essentially combine the practice of giving ourselves and nature a rest into the same day for the same practical reason of the Sabbath, to maintain the abundant nature of the creation. Moses, after escaping slavery, taught the Hebrew people how to live in a scarce desert by reintroducing tribal traditions. Greta's message is much the same, only this time it's billions of people that need to be able to survive on an increasingly scarce planet that's being over-harvested. So,
okay, let me just say this. If you don't know anything about farm country, northern Maine is one of the biggest potato producers in America, certainly probably even in the world. Southern Maine is a very big blueberry producing area, and I don't have any first-hand accounts of hearing it in northern Maine with the potatoes, but definitely southern Maine. We were told about that they would literally burn whole fields of ripe blueberries to keep the price up of blueberries. And I've known of this all across the country. They regularly destroy crops to keep the price up. So this whole thing, I mean, and he's not, saying it's good that they're, the planet's being over-harvested and whatever. But I'm just saying that these environmental nuts are coming out and saying we can't produce enough food. Oh, yes, we can. Oh, yes, we can. They could easily produce enough food. Good, healthy food. But they don't want to. The agenda there is to kill a lot of people. And one of the ways that they do it is through created famine. And that's what's coming. So, very interesting.
In essential ways, Greta is like a modern-day Moses, asking us to slow down our consumption to a sustainable level so that humanity can live as responsible stewards of the earth. This piece goes on to make us aware of the fact that there's a...
Let me just say this too, responsible stewards of the earth. I'm all for that. Okay, I believe in that very firmly, but I believe it's taking a bare piece of land and building a home on it and growing food in a sustainable way there, not bringing in a whole bunch of chemical GMO type of stuff and whatever else. Responsibly growing your own food and enough food for other people as well, to have a little bit of surplus you can trade for food and things. That's what being a responsible steward of the earth is. Logging properly, that's where I can come in. You don't just say no trees, don't cut down trees. No, you cut down trees, you manage your forest, you manage the woodlot that you have. That's what God meant by us being responsible stewards of the earth. It's not hands off, or you have to eat less, or use less wood or whatever. No, be responsible with it. So,
a third leg to the teachings of the Sabbath, and that is the Jubilee. So even they are bringing up what we've now seen floated in 2020 from the Pope and from other, like, again, world leaders like Macron saying, yeah, we should just forgive all of these other debts. Again, that's not going to be your credit card bill. That doesn't get forgiven. We're talking about a way out of the sovereign debt crisis that started back in 2008, right? We got a great reset to deal with here. So we might as well call it a Jubilee and say that it's biblical. But again, looking at the Guardian piece, what is it that they want to do on the climate Sabbath? Quote, we can easily close supermarkets, department stores, gas stations. We can reduce our mobility to the bare essentials without harming the economy in any way. I don't know how they plan to do that. We've seen the lockdowns were tremendously destructive to the world economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just going to get worse the more of this stuff that they do. And that's the whole intended point. See, if they would just come out and be honest about it, people would fight back. They would say, no, we're not going to put on the face masks. No, we're not going to shut down our businesses. And they would thumb their noses at these guys, at the government officials. So they can't tell the true agenda. Oh, it's a coronavirus. We'll just blame it on this imaginary virus that's not even real. People are getting a cold and getting a flu. I still hold to the thing that there is no such thing as a coronavirus. I think it's all fake. I think it's just people getting a normal flu or cold, normal sickness from low immune system. That's what I firmly believe. But see, they can hype it through the media to bring in this real, true agenda, the environmentalist agenda, which is controlled by the Vatican, as he showed earlier. Did a very good job of that. Continue here.
So this is straight up a lie. But now we have, again, with the contact tracing, we have the technology and the climate tracing watching in real time the emissions around the entire world so that they can enforce their Sabbath on the first day, on Sunday, not on the seventh day, when God rested. And again, most importantly, a day for Gaia, a day for the earth, worshiping the creation and not the creator. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this goes much, much deeper. When you read the words of the Catholic Church talking about why they moved the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday, a day of their choosing, quote, Sunday is our mark of authority. The Church, the Catholic Church, is above the Bible, the Word of God. And this transference of the Sabbath observance is proof of that fact. It is our mark, the mark of the Catholic Church. I want to stop and leave it here. But again, if you're Catholic, I certainly don't mean to offend you. No matter what you are, I have no intention of offending you. I just wanted to draw your attention to this. Thanks for listening and for considering and for spreading the word if you feel so inclined, because people need to understand this, or else the reaction without thinking will just be, well, hey, I'm in favor of having a day off, right? Ladies and gentlemen, you can find this report and all my...
Okay, so yeah, I mean, just absolutely incredible what he's showing there. But again, it just confirms what the Bible says. And, you know, I will say this, the Catholic Church has changed the term Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday. And the Sabbath day in the Bible is definitely Saturday. There's no question about that. But where these guys get messed up is they'll say, well, see, then all Christians should celebrate the Sabbath day. Well, that doesn't work because Romans chapter 13, verse 9, there's not any mention at all of keeping the Sabbath day. Let me show you that real quickly here. Just go like this. Romans chapter 13 and verse 9. There's no keeping the Sabbath day. Okay. Paul gives the commandments that we're supposed to follow today, and keeping the Sabbath day is not one of them. And if you just want to go to the first day of the week, okay, come down through here, you can see John chapter 20 verse 19, the first day of the week, doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Jesus and stood in the midst and saith unto them, Peace be unto you. Jesus shows up on the first day of the week, not the Sabbath day. He shows up on Sunday. Acts 20, verse 7, and upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, and continued his speech until midnight. He didn't come on the Sabbath day, he came on Sunday. 1 Corinthians 16, verse 2, upon the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by him in store, as God hath prospered him, that there be no gatherings when I come. So they're meeting together on Sunday. All right, there's nothing at all wrong with that. Not one thing. Truth is, there's really no commandment when you have to meet together as Christians. The Church of Jesus Christ is supposed to be flexible. If it's rigid, solid 9 to 12 every Sunday, well, there's a problem there. All right, so watch out for this Seventh Day Adventist stuff. But a very good video that the guy put out, made some really good points there. But again, another tie-in, and you can see that this thing has been planned for a long time. It's not, there is no pandemic. It's all a lie. It's all fake. All right, the Catholic Church is behind this whole thing. Again, another witness proving that. So that's going to be it. Thank you for watching.